are at Egg, and today we are talking fittingly about perfect scrambled eggs. What makes the perfect scrambled egg?
Well, I mean, there's a million different ways to cook scrambled eggs people think of. Our approach with everything we do here, but especially with scrambled eggs, is that you should do the simplest possible version because that really shows off the egg itself. It's really important to have really good eggs when you cook this way. It's important to have really good whole butter. And other than that, you're done, you're good to go.
And so you use butter to cook your eggs. Why butter instead of a non-stick spray or instead of olive oil?
A few reasons. One, butter is delicious and it's traditional for eggs.
Butter tastes good.
Yeah, but another thing that's important, butter when it's whole contains fat and milk solids, but it also contains water. And when that water starts to evaporate in the process of cooking the eggs, it helps to steam the eggs a little bit, which gives them some lift. If you cook eggs this way in olive oil or clarified butter, they get kind of flat and limp. But when you cook them with whole butter, they sort of fluff up and they get really pretty and they feel better to eat.
So a lot of people live and die by adding special things into it. They add milk, they add all these things. Why do you not need to add anything into your version of perfect scrambled eggs?
Milk kind of does the same thing that the water and the butter does. It adds a liquid that steams and fluffs the eggs up a little bit.
Good butter, you don't need
milk. We'll add creme fraiche or sour cream, whatever. It helps loosen them up a little bit and cover up your mistakes.
But if you just cook it correctly the first time,
you don't have to worry about it.
And let's talk about pans. Is there an ideal type of pan, non-stick versus cast iron? You use both. What are the benefits and detriments to each type of pan?
In the kitchen here, we always use non-stick for eggs, and it's the one kind of food that I think you really should have a non-stick pan for. But if you have a cast iron pan that's well seasoned, or if you have a carbon steel pan that's well seasoned, you don't need to get a new pan just for cooking eggs. You can do a great job on those as well.
And what are the biggest mistakes that you see people making when they're scrambling eggs, other than just adding the wrong ingredients?
Well, definitely the number one thing is they cook it over too much heat. You don't want it to be, there's sort of a traditional French technique of cooking it over like a double boiler, which we've played with in the past. You don't need to mess with that. It's you don't have to baby them, but cook them over medium heat, and just so you can actually watch them come together. And doing that over time, you really start to learn just the right time to take them off, and the curds won't dry up too fast or tighten up too fast.
Thank you so much. Will you actually show us your scrambled eggs?
Sure. So we're now downstairs in the prep kitchen at Egg, and I'm going to go through the actual process of making the scrambled eggs we were talking about. And you're going to want to turn the heat on your pan to medium-high, so that when you put in butter, it'll start to melt, but it won't sizzle too fast. The goal is to get the eggs into the pan with the butter before the butter has fully melted and the water's cooked off. So that's why you don't want it to be too hot too soon. Then I always crack the eggs into a separate bowl first, in case any bits of shell get into the egg. You can get them out before they start to cook. So now you can see I've got the butter is starting to melt, but it hasn't fully liquefied. And I put the eggs in without scrambling them first at all, so they go in whole. Then you spend the next minute or two just sort of gently pushing the eggs around. You'll let the whites set first, and then the yolks will come along behind. So the only thing we add to the eggs is kosher salt, which we put in sort of partway through the cooking process. And now you can see the whites are starting to set, but there's actually two different whites in an egg. The outer white, which is thin, sets first, and then the inner white takes a little bit longer to set, and then the yolk comes along last. And so the pan is going to have some hold heat, so when they start to get to this point where they're setting, you want to make sure you get the pan off heat. And the goal here is you want to get the eggs set up in curd. They're like starting to come together, starting to get a little bit firm, but they should still all glisten. You don't want it to be liquidy, but you also don't want it to be dry. So there's like a short window of time, and then get them off heat as soon as you can after that point. So thanks for watching. These are our perfectly simple scrambled eggs at Egg.